It's really good to be with you, and it's really good to have so many Hopkins in the audience, because I don't know anybody who needs it more. I started to say I almost feel like an honorary Hopkins. I've known them since 1976. May have met a couple of them before that. But we moved to Dover in '76, and I know that we started meeting them then. And I was kidding, of course, about needing it the most. A very, very God-fearing, loving, and dedicated family of people. And always enjoyed being with them. Faith. Faith is something that's very, very important in our lives. As I said yesterday, it is a centerpiece of Christianity as far as man's response to God, what God has done to us, for us, and offers us. We need to nourish it, feed it, strengthen it, because it will face many obstacles. And one of the obstacles I believe that it faces is guilt. And I'm glad that it's being videotaped, because there's people who really have a hard time with this. And we'll see that as we go on. In the Psalms, the 86th Psalm, verses 1 through 6, incline your ear, O Lord, and answer me, for I am afflicted and needy. Preserve my soul, for I am a godly man. O you, my God, save your servant who trusts in you. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for to you I cry all day long. Make glad the soul of your servant, for to you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. For you, Lord, are good and ready to forgive, and abundant in loving kindness to all who call upon him. Give ear, O Lord, to my prayer, and give heed to the voice of my supplication. I said yesterday, as much as we love the Psalms, and we think of how good they are and how thankful we are that David gave them to us, at the same time, many of them are a cry of, God, where are you? I need you. And in this psalm, he says, God, save me. One of the things I believe that we don't understand about the word save in the Old Testament is, most of the time, it has nothing to do with our salvation. That is, in a spiritual way, forgiveness of our sins. Most of the time, when it's talking about salvation and being saved, it's talking about physical salvation, being oppressed by enemies, whether it's on a personal level or on a national level. But in this one, as we look at the context, it's obvious David is saying, I need your forgiveness, and I want you to save me. There are things that sometimes really scar us in life. David defeated Goliath, but he also sinned with Bathsheba. He wanted, in the worst way, to build a temple to God. And yet God said, there's blood on your hands. You can't do it, but your son can. I believe about every morning when Peter heard a rooster crow, it brought a twinge. Was he forgiven? Did he have the grace of God in his life? Absolutely. But sometimes we're scarred by our sins. And sometimes we question whether or not God has forgiven us. Guilt can make us do some funny things, strange things. Jewish mothers are known for giving their children a hard time. And someone said if Michelangelo's mother had been Jewish, she would have said, why can't you draw on the walls like all the other kids? Putting the guilt complex on them. I share with you a story that I think is absolutely hilarious. I read it the first time a few years ago online on Facebook, actually. A man came home from work one day, and he got home a little earlier than his neighbor did, and he looked out and he saw his dog had his neighbor's pet beagle in his mouth. Rabbit, a beagle. He had a rabbit in his mouth. And he recognized it as being his neighbor's rabbit. He went over and checked his neighbor's rabbit cage, and sure enough, there was no rabbit in it. And so he got the rabbit, took it home, washed it, rinsed it, dried it with a dryer, and put it back in the cage. A few days later, he saw his neighbor and said, "How are things going?" He said, "Oh, okay, I guess you knew my rabbit died." He said, "It did?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "There's some sick people in this place." He said, "He died the other day and we buried it. And then a few days later, a day or two later, we found it in the cage and somebody had shampooed it and rinsed it and dried it." Yeah, guilt will get us to do some strange things. But it's not always funny, the things that we do. Sometimes guilt drives us up the wall. Ann Landers was the answer lady for a lot of people. And you could write her, and some of the people that wrote to her made the newspaper. And a lot of people read that Ann Landers page every day. She said the most heartbreaking, some of the worst things that she had to deal with people was guilt and shame. And she gave 3 illustrations. "I let my boyfriend go too far. Now when he sees me, he looks the other way. I'm so ashamed, I could just die." Isn't that tragic? She's going to live with that guilt for a while. "I threw a dish towel in my mother-in-law's face. She was trying to be helpful and I lost my temper. I hate myself." Or, "I got caught cheating in history exam today. All the kids know about it. I feel rotten." Sometimes there's something that happens in your life that just you can't get rid of, it seems like. And there are a lot of people who ride that guilt and don't want to get help and get over it. I think one of the scariest passages in the Bible is this one right here. There's a lot of scary passages. But it says, "Surely at the command of the Lord it came upon Judah to remove them from his sight because of the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he had done, and also for the innocent blood which he shed. For he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, and the Lord would not forgive." Isn't that our fear? Isn't that sometimes what drives our guilt? That God won't forgive us? That what we've done is just too bad and too wrong for a loving God who is just and pure to be able to forgive. In John 8, verse 34, Jesus answered them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, everyone who commits sin is the slave of sin." Paul talks about that in Romans, the 6th chapter, about being under the power or dominion of sin, depending on which translation you read. Slaves to sin. As a matter of fact, in Proverbs 5:22, his own iniquities will capture the wicked, and he will be held with the cords of his sin. That's another one of those frightening passages. But isn't that right? Have you ever just felt bound up? Someone was, my wife, I won't mention her name. The other day she said something about, "Well, you can't even bend over and do that. You're not very flexible." I said, "I'm muscle bound." Sometimes you have so many muscles you're bound up and you're not flexible. That may have been the case 3 months in my life, but not anymore. The question then becomes what to do about guilt. Our society is trying to get rid of guilt. As I mentioned yesterday, we try to find names to change the ugliness of sin. We live together, or it's my significant other. It's not we live in adultery or fornication. They want us to accept homosexuality as being normal. They have inflated the statistics. 1 to 2% of the nation's population is actually homosexual. But they'll tell you it's 14%. You know how they got to that figure? If you were in college or in the army and someone approached you of the same sex and asked you to have sex with them, and then later the government sends you a brochure that says, has anyone ever asked you of the same sex to have sex? And you put yes, they count you as being homosexual. No matter whether you said yes or no to that person, just the fact that you were asked makes you a homosexual. That's how they inflate these things. They're trying to get rid of guilt the wrong way. And it just doesn't work. There are some wrong ways to handle guilt, and I alluded to these yesterday briefly. How do we deal with it? Well, we can blame others. That's certainly what Adam did, and even Eve did it. The Bible's replete with people who tried to pass the buck, tried to say it was someone else. When Saul was sent by God to destroy the Amalekites in 1 Samuel 15, we find that he comes back and Samuel's there to greet him and says, you disobeyed God, you're going to lose your kingship. And he says, why? I did what God said. He said, then what means the bleating of the sheep? And what's this king doing here? Oh, the people brought them back for sacrifice. See, Saul tried to pass the buck, but he was the one who was responsible. And God knew it, and God wouldn't let him go from it. Blaming others does not absolve guilt. It may help you get through the moment, but it doesn't absolve the guilt. And then burying them. This is another thing that Adam and Eve tried to do. They tried to hide from their iniquities. You ever see a child do something wrong and then they take it and they bury it? I saw a video one time, and a child did something with her parents' phone. They were at the beach, and it was obvious. The look on his face, the camera was still rolling. Look on his face, and so he takes it over, and you can see it's just laying on the sand for a minute, and you can hear him call, and you see his head moving, and then he picks up the phone and he drops it in the hole he's dug, and he tries to bury it. Out of sight, out of mind. Well, you can try that with your sins. Look at the extent that David went to try to cover up or bury the sin that he committed with Bathsheba. He calls Bathsheba to sin. He sinned against Uriah. He sinned against the nation of Israel, for they all suffered for it. And he sinned against God. Now, in the Psalms he writes, against thee and thee only have I sinned. It doesn't mean he wasn't guilty of sinning against these others. It's just that sinning against people pales in comparison to sinning against the pure Heavenly Father in heaven. Burying it doesn't work either. And then sometimes we try to minimize it. The idea is that we made a mistake, but not a sin. That, it's a little bad, but it's not as bad as everyone's making it out to be. Bill, it's been a long time since we were kids. It was a different culture, wasn't it? Surely was. There are things that people do in public today that you would never dreamed of happening. And if someone would have said some of the words back in those days, their hand went over their mouth immediately, or their mother's hand went across the side of their face. But not today. You hear it on television, the radio, in print. It's terrible. The first sin doesn't seem like much. Any of you women ever bake cookies? Have cookies at home, you bake them for the family. You tell them, now don't you get into these, but one of the kids eats cookie. So you kick him out of the house and never let him come back home. What are you laughing at? They ate the forbidden fruit. God kicked them out of the garden. They couldn't ever go back home. You see, to us, oh, that's a small thing. But it's disobedience. It's rebellion. And God wanted mankind to know sin's sin. And we don't minimize it. The Jews called God by a different name. And I don't know the name, but it basically translates other. Now, we don't find this in the scripture. It's by tradition. But they called him other because, as God said, my ways are not your ways, and my thoughts are not your thoughts. We're on one level, God's on a completely different level. We're made in his image, but we certainly don't compare to God. And God is so pure, so wonderful, so magnificent. And when we disobey him, when we rebel against him, it flies in his face. It's sin. And it cannot be minimalized. It's too big of a thing. These efforts may satisfy us briefly, but they don't rid us of guilt. So let's talk about faith, guilt and forgiveness relationship. Guilt is overcome by forgiveness through faith. We talked about this yesterday. Ephesians chapter 2 is another reference that we could add to the many references that talk about guilt is overcome by faith. God forgives us. We're no longer guilty of that sin. So we are absolutely forgiven. And we're not guilty. Problem is sometimes we still feel guilty because we go by emotion more than other things. Our problem is that of accepting the forgiveness. I share with you a story that's very personal, but it cuts to my heart. My dad was a very good man. One person said the closest to perfect that he'd ever known, and he didn't know that I would hear about that. He said it to a friend of mine and didn't know that my friend was as close to me as I am. I did something that was shameful. I drove home one day and up on the driveway, turned the car off, and my dad was coming out the kitchen door. And that wasn't like Dad. And I thought, what he wants? Maybe he needs to go somewhere quickly. And then I saw his face and knew, oh, no, that's not Dad. Dad's after me. He came around the car, and before I could open the door, I want to talk to you about something. Okay, Dad? You wasn't going to let me out of the car. I was right there. I heard that you did so and so. Is that true? I wasn't going to lie to Dad. I said, yeah, Dad, it's true. My dad simply said, I'm disappointed. I was old enough he wasn't going to spank me. But the look on his face destroyed me. Absolutely destroyed me. He turned and walked back in the house. I tried to get out of that car. I wanted to take my belt off and give it to Dad and had him beat me till I was beyond belief, because my dad was hurt that much. For a long time after that, when I prayed to God for forgiveness, I saw my dad's face with that look on it. It was a long time, we never talked about it again, but it was a long time before I felt comfortable that Dad had forgiven me. I want us to realize, before we go on, that there's a better way to deal with guilt than what we normally do. In Colossians, 1 Corinthians, chapter 12, Paul talks about the spiritual gifts and the way they were using them, not using them appropriately at Corinth. And when he gets to the end of that chapter, even though he didn't write the chapters, he got to the end of chapter 12, he writes, "But I'll show you a more excellent way, and it's the way of love." Well, here's a more excellent way than struggling with guilt. Don't sin. So, well, that's rather simplistic. Yeah, I know. And it's easier said than done. But Samuel told Saul, it is better to obey than sacrifice. Sometimes we just choose to do what's wrong and then have to live with it. We need to make better choices. The problem is that we're flesh and blood, and we sin. And so we do. And we need to deal with the guilt. How can faith help? Let's go back to our understanding of faith. There are three elements to faith. Saving faith. Knowing. You have to have a knowledge. When God said, "Come, let us reason together," he was wanting his people to know so they could believe. Then there's believing. And believing is a little bit more than having knowledge. It is accepting that which we have been exposed to. And then there's trusting. A lot of people know and they believe it's true, but they don't trust. We talked about that yesterday. That's the tragic part. There are a lot of people who believe, they accept that the message of God is true, but they never obey it because they're not trusted enough to give their lives to it, to submit to it. So that's how faith can help us. Because faith is like that, it can help us to overcome sin because God has chosen faith for forgiveness. Some Christians, I'm hoping that showed up well enough. Some Christians misunderstand how God saves. First of all, some see it as a set of scales. You remember those scales where it's just a simple thing that hangs and you have a couple chains that go out and there's two places. And on one platform you can put a weight, 2 ounces, 5 ounces, 16 ounces. And over on this side you put something so that it measures up to it. If it's this way, you put more on and that brings it up level. But if it went this way, you take some off. And what we're hoping is that we do enough good works, even though we sin, and it's in. We're hoping we do enough good works to bring it down level or a little past so we can get into heaven. Basically, the concept behind this is we get what we deserve. Trouble is, there's no way we can do that. If once I sin one sin and live the rest of my life perfectly, none of that makes up for that sin. How are you going to make up for that? Come back in overtime? Come back from the dead? We don't have that option. We cannot be good enough. When my father died and I got to do his funeral, his family was there and they were in denominationalism. And I said of my father was as good a man as I ever knew. But as good as he wasn't good enough to go to heaven. And they almost gasped out loud. None of our brethren reacted. They knew what I meant. They believed salvation by grace through faith alone. And I'd rather that be what I meant. There's nothing we can do to make up for sin. It takes the grace of God. And so I went on and explained, but God knew, Dad knew God. He had put his faith and trust in God. He lived for God the best he could. And because I believe in the promise of God, I believe my Father's in heaven. And they all, his family all went, whew. And I'm sitting there going, don't you understand the very basics of the Bible about salvation? That's because, I can't think of his name, Stanley, Charles Stanley, made a statement in a sermon one time. He said, my people have been taught all their lives that we're saved by the grace of God and not of our own works, but they still believe they have to be good enough to go to heaven. That's a natural feeling for us, that if we live a better life than we do a corrupt life, that God will give us a place in heaven. It doesn't work on scales. And some people have an insufficient understanding of grace. They believe that they're unforgiven because it seems unforgivable to them. God doesn't have enough grace to save me. I had a man one time who fought in World War II. He was scouting for his company. He came up on a hill in Germany toward the end of the war, and there was a young boy, teenager, 12, 14 years old. He was scouting for his German division. And the boy had a Luger in his hand. And this man had a rifle. And they stopped and stared at each other. He knew what he needed to do. He just couldn't do it. But when the boy started to raise the pistol, he shot and killed him. That haunted him the rest of his life. Because that boy looked just like his brother, his younger brother. And he couldn't live with that. We sometimes think what we have done is worse than what anyone else has done. And we don't understand God's forgiveness. And then there's some statements that I think help us understand the feeling. I slipped over the edge and will never be able to make it back into God's graces. I'm so far down that even looking up seems wrong. I've sinned so many times that God must be sick and tired of my wrongs. Maybe he has quit forgiving my many mistakes and sins. How can I know if he's really there, really cares about me? Those are haunting questions. And maybe you identify with one or more of them. And maybe your feeling is expressed in a different way. But what I want us to understand is that God saves by his grace, not by our goodness. It is the grace of God that saves us. God doesn't look down and say, he's surely good enough that I'll let him in heaven. Now, God does test us. He does see how we will react. And he does want us to live a good life. But we cannot be good enough to offset the sins that are in our lives. And so we feel guilty many times because of that. Not only so, but he forgives us because he loves us, not because we're lovable. You remember that old saying, he's got a face on that mother can love? I asked one of our teenage boys who was going to go to Ohio State and study meteorology, and I said, what do you hope to do? You want to be on TV? He said, Randy, I have a radio face. Well, there are some times that we're just not as lovable as we like to be, as lovable as we try to make ourselves. That doesn't atone for sin. And there are some people who just feel it's too good to be true. God keeps saving me. You can't love me enough. I know, preacher, what the Bible teaches. But it's just too good to be true for me. Let that sink in. In